And I've come tonight to say thank you. The last 18 months have been extremely difficult. As members of the Spotsylvania County School Board, you have had to make difficult decisions for which you received no prior training. As far as I know, none of you are epidemiologists. I don't think any of you are even a nurse or a medical doctor. But it has been your responsibility to make decisions that have affected the health and safety of our children and, by extension, our community. And I trust that even when you have disagreed with one another, your desire has been to make decisions that are in the best interests of our children. I care about Spotsylvania County Public Schools because I'm a father of 2 children in Spotsylvania County Public Schools. And I think each of you has made at least one decision over the last year that I have disagreed with. And you've heard from me on some of those occasions. I try to limit my comments to you to the most pressing issues facing our schools because I recognize that you have a difficult job, and I trust that you are doing the best that you can. So thank you for your service. We have a representative form of government. Having watched recent school board meetings, I believe that there is a bit of a misunderstanding about what it means that you represent us. As you know, you were not elected to do the bidding of any one parent or member of the community. It is not even your responsibility to make decisions based on informal opinion polls. You were elected to do the right thing for our kids. Thankfully, we have the freedom to come to a meeting like this and share our perspectives with you. You have the responsibility to hear those perspectives. But you are not bound to do whatever I think you should do, what any other parent thinks you should do. As you've heard, that all conflicts tonight. Or even what the majority of parents think you should do. Sometimes you might hear our perspectives and change your position on an issue. I've seen that exact thing happen with this board. Other times you might hear our perspectives and decide to go forward with what you believe is right for the children of Spotsylvania County. Again, your job is to do the right thing for our kids as you see it. Sometimes doing the right thing puts you in agreement with the majority of the community. Sometimes it puts you in the minority. Sometimes doing the right thing means you don't get reelected. That's okay. The right thing is always the right thing, no matter the consequences. Again, thank you for your service to our kids. I do not envy your position and the difficult decisions that you have had to make over the last 18 months. Election day is coming for some of you, and the people will get their say. But in the meantime, keep listening to our perspectives, and at the end of the day, do what you believe is right for the children of Spotsylvania County. Thank you, God bless you, and good night.
Over the last month, it's become very obvious to me that this, like so many other elected positions, is just another political body. You don't care about science, data, the actual risks to our children, or the damage being done to them being the center of your political fight. You care about your own power and making sure that your worldview is being carried out, regardless of the consequences to our society and children. In this fight, there are basically 3 positions. There is the fence, which is where most people reside in every fight. You get 80% of the population will sit on the fence. They won't pick a side. You have my side, which likes to be smeared as anti-mask, anti-vaccine, and that's not the case. My side is anti-mandate and pro-freedom, pro-liberty, pro-Constitution of the United States and Virginia. And your side feels that it's okay to take your worldview and force it onto everybody else, regardless of what they want for them or their children. You as a body have violated Virginia code in multiple ways, including but not limited to the following. And this has exposed the school board to legal action, and I encourage all parents in this room to sue the school board, not only the school board, but the individual members that voted to violate their constitutional rights.
I have one child at Spotsylvania High, and I have another child at Massaponax. It was not my intent to come today and speak. But my son, when I picked him up from practice today, he said to me, "We don't know if we're going to have another game this weekend." My son is a freshman on the Massaponax football team, and I've watched him bust his behind all summer to be a freshman on the varsity team. So I'm coming to you from a different side of things. I first want to say for this young lady, I'm going to pray for this young lady. I'm also going to pray for those that feel like they're oppressed. Being a member of Spotsylvania, or being a native of Spotsylvania County, I understand oppression. Mr. Twigg, my mother worked in your division at Livingston Elementary School for over 30 years. So I know about oppression in Spotsylvania County, but my oppression is a little bit different than theirs. But the reason I come to you is because I'm appalled at you guys. You guys are our leaders. And here we are, my son gets in the car today and says to me that, Dad, we may not have another game. That to me tells me that some decisions that you guys have made is not working. And when I see you guys, up there arguing and bickering, like I've seen again tonight, and cutting across people, that means that you guys haven't come together and made good decisions. I applaud these people. I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say, but they have the right to voice their opinion. I agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with what they're doing, but I agree with their right. But you guys are the ones that are supposed to come together with bigger heads and stand up and be leaders. And you're not being leaders. When I turn on my TV and I listen to you all bickering and cutting across people, and when you come down here and talk to your constituents, that's okay. I understand you talking to your constituents, but stop flaming the fire. Yes. We have so much division in this country right now that it's ridiculous. And you leaders are flaming the fire. Come together as leaders and let's make some decisions that make sense. You guys have the data. You can go back in your back room and come together, sit around the table and look at the data. Okay, some of it's false. I get it. Some of it on my side is false. Some of it on their side is false. The answer is somewhere in the middle. But you guys have to come together and make those decisions. I'm tired of it. I sympathize with the person out here that says she's tired. I get it. I get it. But for every person that isn't for mass, there's just as many people that are for mass. Okay? So I don't want to get into we should wear a mask, we shouldn't wear a mask. What I'm saying is you leaders come together and make some good decisions for our kids. My son has bust his butt since last May to play football. He gets in the car again tonight and tells me they may not have another game. That will be 4 games that they've missed. Right. Some of the other schools have played. He has not played a one. All I want is for you all of you, from the youngest to whomever the oldest, and the pastor, come together and make some decisions that work. Thank you.
For some reason, there are members on this board who believe they can play God and parent. Enough is enough. We're done. You are not our God. You are not our creator, nor are you equal to it. And you sure won't raise our children. And how dare you, Mr. Braswell, vote to take away religious exemptions and rights while claiming to be a pastor and a man of God. Shame on you. You all claim to just be following the law. Well, thank God we had men and women strong enough to stand up when slavery was also the law. Thank God we had better people than some of those sitting on this board before us, who, according to their voting records, would have also clearly voted to just follow those laws as well. Thank God we had leaders willing to stand up for what was right when rounding up the Jewish people was the German law. I was just following orders. Didn't work in Nuremberg trials. It ain't gonna work here. If y'all ever have wondered if you would have been compliant in the 1930s Germany, I think now you know. I'll close with this, and I hope those of you that need to hear it will take it to heart. A long train of abuses and continued oppression can only result in one thing. The people's right, no, their duty is to throw off such oppressors and abolish the tyrannical overreach of their oppressors and secure their futures and God-given rights. God bless you all. Have a good night.
As both a previous educator and a parent, I feel like I have insight to issues that affect our county schools. I love teaching. I love being with my students. I volunteer to sponsor different clubs. I spend extra time with my students. I attended their events. I even had groups every single year who would call me mom. And I honestly just cherish my relationships with them. I was by no means a perfect teacher, but I tried my best every year. That is until last year. Every year I worked, the number of students I had increased. My last year as a teacher, I had a total of 185 students. This is normal for many teachers, especially at the middle school and high school level. The one area where I excelled, which was building relationships with students, because if students like you, they will work for you, was being taken away from me because I was becoming a mediocre teacher. It is impossible to try and build a good relationship with all 185 students. Hats off to the teachers who are still in the classroom and trying their best. As a mother, especially to a daughter who's on the autism spectrum, I saw how this affected my child. My child struggled in school. She was too high functioning to be in the autism classroom, but she did not have the support from her teachers to do well. This was by no means their fault. In a class with 30 other kids, how could I expect a teacher to pick up on my child's subtle stims that showed that she was struggling? How can a reading specialist with a full caseload dedicate extra time to just my child? We made a decision to homeschool her because she was not receiving the help she needed. But I also know that teachers are just being asked to do too much. I can assure you that a majority of teachers are struggling with some aspect of their life right now, whether they're falling behind on grading or their personal lives have taken a back seat or their mental health is suffering. Now imagine my surprise as I tune into the school board meetings and watch the antics of both residents of this county who are unfamiliar with the issues in a classroom, and 3 school board members in particular who also don't want to understand what these issues are. Our schools need more funding and support. If we want to keep kids in school, we need a mask mandate. Who here has been in a classroom recently? Do you think there is enough distance between desks when you have 30 students? Our Board of Supervisors didn't even approve funding for extra cleaning supplies, and yet we have people here yelling about masks and CRT. I could not believe that this fake outrage over CRT was even happening in the county that I live in, being that anyone can look up what is being taught in the schools on the VDOE website. To think that teachers are going out of their way to indoctrinate students when you have a class of 30 kids and managing students with IEPs and behavioral plans and ELLs and gifted students and students who are hungry or come from unstable homes. I don't know. This would almost be comical if it weren't just so insulting.
So for those that don't know, Spotsylvania Schools has 24,000 students approximately. There was 140 positive cases, which is 0.5%, and 629 quarantined. That's 3%. That's a 4-day week. Lancaster County, South Carolina, they have 14,208 kids. 383 tested positive. That's 3%. 3,190 were quarantined. That's 22%. And since school started, they started the same time we did, they have had one 16-year-old die and 2 teachers died. So that shows you the difference between an unmasked mandate and the mandate to have them. Masks work. A study released September 1st in Bangladesh of 350,000 participants showed a decrease in COVID positive cases.
I'm going to ask that you not interrupt the speaker. Thank you.
Wearing masks provides more than a 50% reduction in spreading the virus, and since the viral load of Delta variant has 1,000 times more the original Alpha variant, the host spreads the virus, and they spread more of it. People spread it up to 48 hours before becoming symptomatic. This provides a false sense of health, and this was in an article published by a pediatric pulmonologist, put out by the American Association of Pediatrics on August 3rd, stated there should be no concerns for wearing a mask, and carbon dioxide issues with kids wearing masks was completely a myth, nor does it suppress a child's immune system. Children still get colds, they will still get strep throat, etc. The mask stops the wearer from spreading, not from getting, please stop speaking, it's my turn to talk. I have waited for 2 hours.
Ladies and gentlemen in the audience, please show respect.
On August 20th, the Virginia Health Commissioner stated schools going against the mandate that they would seek an injunction and the school system will end up in court. If they continue to disobey the mandate, there will be penalties. Quoting Jacobson versus Massachusetts, as well as the Supreme Court in Arizona where there is an issue, upon the principle of self-defense, of paramount necessity, a community has the right to protect itself against an epidemic of disease which threatens the safety of its members. Coa versus Hogan, which is in Maryland, the court stated, requiring necessary protective equipment be worn to engage in certain public activities is simply not the equivalent of mandating expressive conduct. Face covering requirements regulate conduct, not speech. So these mandates are not suppressing anyone's First Amendment rights. Cloth face coverings have been used since the 14th century in eliminating respiratory illnesses and diseases. The 1910 Manchurian plague was eradicated with the use of cloths over the face. Social distancing and face masks were even mentioned in the Bible, referenced illness in Leviticus 13, 45, and 46. The person who has a case of serious skin disease is to have his clothes torn and his hair hanging loose. He must cover his mouth and cry out, unclean, unclean. He will remain unclean as long as he has the disease. He is unclean, and he must live in a place outside the camp. These historical examples show that masking along with social distancing have helped humanity overcome plagues and pandemics for over hundreds of years. I stated this for those who seem concerned with religious beliefs being compromised. But this will only work if everyone is wearing a mask. If people have a problem with it, it is their turn to stay home. Actions are not free from consequence. Some of us are doing our part and we want our children in schools, but we want them there safely. It is your job to protect your teachers and staff and to protect our children and not to give in to political egos. Thank you.